Hi, this is Steve Giles, and we're now into week 3, and I just wanted to spend a few minutes going over a couple answers to questions a few students had, and basically just talk about week 3 and the assignment. So here's week 3, I'm in Canvas, and for this week we're talking about div and span, nav, ordered lists, links, and styling with pseudo classes. So what I'm going to do is open up my HTML page from last week and enhance that. Okay, so here's my page from last week, just to refresh. And if I load it in the browser, this is what it looks like. If I refresh, I'm styling the head and the paragraph. I could go and load my style sheet and change the background color, let's say blue. I save it, I go back to my browser, I refresh, and I get a blue background. So let's change this back to yellow, save it, refresh my page again, and that's from last week. So now what I want to do is update this web page for assignment 3. So I'm going to delete that information, and I'm going to add some information in the body. I briefly want to talk about some really important elements that are in HTML5, which is the header, the nav, and the footer. So those are new HTML5 elements which I want to add in my web page. So I'm going to add a header, a nav, and a footer. So in my header, I want to display information to the browser that's about my web page. So I might want to say H1 and then homepage. And here in the nav, that's where I'm going to have my navigation system. And then my footer, I'm going to have copyright information. And that's the basic structure of an HTML5 web page. So now if I go back to the browser, I refresh it, and that's what I have. What I want to do is I want to edit style, and I no longer want to do any of this. So I'm going to save that, refresh. Now I've got my nice web page. So now let's go back and add the navigation system. A really, really good way to do a navigation system is through an unordered list. That's a way that a lot of people do their navigation system. So you have an unordered list, and in there you have list items. So this is an unordered list with one or more list items. And in a list item, let's do a link. So we're going to add a hyperlink. All right, so let's add a hyperlink, which is A for a hyperlink. href is where I want to navigate to. So I'm going to navigate to index.html, and then I'm going to call it home. So there's my first link. So let's add 2 more, and I'm just going to put a hashtag, a £, meaning don't do anything, don't go anywhere. And I'm going to have 2 more pages. I'm going to have a contact us, and then a about us. So now here I have a website with 3 pages, and here's my navigation system. So let's save that, refresh it, and that's the basic structure of our web page header. So really we want every web page to have this information. So now what I want to do is I want to add some pseudo classes. And a pseudo class is used to define a special state of an element. By default, hyperlinks have several different special states. So when you hover over hyperlinks, they do something different. What we want to do is change the state of these hyperlinks using pseudoclasses. So again, by default, there's some pseudoclasses. Like I selected home, so when you select home, it changes. When you select a hyperlink, it changes to like this red. And then I changed that one, so it's now red. So let's style this. We'll change it from the default and add our own. And I'm going to start by editing styles.css. Okay, so the default color for a hyperlink is blue, and we want to change that. We're going to do it using a pseudo class. So we'll select styles, and we're going to add this pseudo class called link, meaning we're going to change the default color from blue to black. We'll save it, and we'll refresh our page, and now the default color is black. Notice this one didn't change because this is a selected state. We already selected it, so we have to change the pseudo class for that one. So actually this is previously selected, which is red. So we want to change a previously selected hyperlink. We want the color to be green. So if I ever visit a hyperlink, the default color is now going to be green. So we'll save that, refresh our page, and now it's green. So now they're all green. But wouldn't it be cool if we could change the color, the hover over color? So right now the hover over color, it doesn't change. Okay, so if we want to change the hover over color from its default state to something else, we want to use hover. So now we've added hover, so the color is going to be blue if I hover over some text. And save that, refresh my page, and now it's blue. So there's one other one that we can do, and that's active. So the active link, right now, the active link is home, but notice that it stays green. So, it's active because I selected it. So let's add that style. All right, our active one right now is home. Notice I click it, and it's active, but it's just going from green to blue. So we want to change it to yellow. We want an active link to be yellow. So we'll refresh. So that's hover over. So it's green. I hover over it. It's blue. I make it active, and it's yellow. Voila. So now we just implemented 4 pseudo classes. I think the next thing I want to do is actually structure my website. So I'm going to go to where my file is stored. So I have index right here. So I'm going to copy that, paste it, change the name to contact. I'll copy contact and change that name to about. So now I have a website with 3 pages. Right now I'm editing index. I have contact, so I'm going to call contact.html, about.html. Actually, I'm going to do this over again. I don't like what I did. Let's do this one more time. Index, that's now going to be contact, copy contact, and now that's going to be about. So now I have my 3 web pages. Now let's try this in the browser. Here's my 3 web pages. So I click home, contact, and about. And it looks like we actually loaded the same page, but we didn't. We loaded 3 different pages. So let's load those pages into our editor. Okay, so I just loaded them in, and now I'm editing about, and I'm going to change the title to About Us. We'll save it. I'm editing contact. I'm going to change that to Contact Us and save it. And now I click home, I get my home page. Click Contact Us, I go to the Contact Us page, and About Us. So now I basically have the structure of a fully functional website. with 3 pages. Okay, so now let's start creating our page. I'm going to have main, and I like putting everything in divs. I'm a big fan of divs. And divs are just containers. So I can have a div here, another div, and div are block elements. Spans are inlines. So let's have a paragraph. This is 1 line. And we'll copy that. This is another line. And we'll refresh our page. Go to home. Maybe I didn't save it. Refresh it. Because I'm not doing it right. So I'm editing the Contact Us page. And I actually want to edit index. So we'll save that. Oh, I forgot the main. Notice that I tab. I really like structuring everything in a tab. It makes the website look a lot better. So there we go. So we have, this is line 1 and this is another line. So what if we wanted to style just this line? One of the ways that you can do it is through IDs. All right, so I'm going to apply a style to this. And I'm going to give this an ID of my box. So ID is a unique identifier. So now let's go to styles and we'll call it, we named it my ID. Actually, we called it my box, not my ID. So this is a style that's going to be applied to the ID of my box. Now let's go back to our page. We'll refresh it. Sorry, I already refreshed it. So now it has a background color of yellow. So we could change this to blue. Now if I refresh it, I'm going to have blue. So put it back to yellow. All right, the last thing that I wanted to touch base on are classes. So classes are when you can apply styles to more than one element. Okay, so let's add another div. This is yet another line, and we're going to use a class. Call this other box. So classes we can use multiple times. IDs you can only use once. So now we'll go back to our style sheet. We'll copy this. And what did we call it? We called it other box. Go back to styles. And for classes, it's a dot. So IDs pound classes dot. And we'll do this, we'll call it green. Save it, refresh. Okay, so that's it. Just to review, we have hyperlinks with pseudo classes. We have 4 different states. We have a div, which is a nice container element. A div is a blockline element. A span is inline. We're styling these using IDs and classes. An ID has a pound sign. You can use it only once. A class has a dot, and you can use it multiple times. You reference an ID using the ID attribute and a class by the class attribute. So everything that you see here in this red is called an element. It's really, really important. What you see in red is an element. What you see in the green is referred to as an attribute. So that's it. That's for week 3.